You ever had someone look you dead in the eye and make you feel like you don't belong? Like no matter how hard you've worked, no matter how much you've achieved, they've already decided you're beneath them. This is the story of Ava Monroe, a woman who turned humiliation into power, a story they'll wish they'd never started. Rain fell like judgment that afternoon, soft, cold, and unrelenting. Inside her car, Ava Monroe watched the world blur through her windshield, breathing slowly, gripping the steering wheel as if it could hold her pride together. She had just been turned away from a restaurant she'd dreamed of visiting for years, not because it was full, but because her skin wasn't the kind they wanted reflected in their glass walls. Ava was used to boardrooms filled with men who didn't take her seriously, used to being the only one in meetings that praised diversity but never practiced it. But this was different. This was personal. She had walked into the Bay House as a paying customer, and left feeling invisible. The hostess's words replayed like a scratch in her mind. We're full. Our clientele expects a certain image. Ava knew what that meant. She watched another couple walk in right after her. Jeans, messy hair, laughter too loud for fine dining, and still they got a table. She didn't even argue. She just smiled, thanked the woman, and walked out. But behind that calm smile, something inside her snapped. What they didn't know was that Ava Monroe wasn't just another guest. She was a woman who had fought her way up from a one-room apartment to a corner office. She'd been told no so many times, it became her motivation. So when the world tried to push her out of a door, she learned to buy the whole building. That night, she sat in her apartment with a notebook open. At the top, she wrote one sentence: "They will remember me." Weeks passed, but she didn't forget. Instead, she started researching, not the restaurant's menu, but its owner. Turns out the Bay House had been struggling for years. The location was perfect, but behind the fancy decor was a sinking business. Bad management, unpaid staff, declining reputation. It was barely surviving under a mountain of quiet debt. And that's when Ava saw her opportunity. She called a friend, Marcus, a real estate investor who owed her a favour. "Find out who owns the Bay House," she said, "and tell me what it would take to make them sell." 3 weeks later, she had her answer. The owner was desperate. Taxes were late. Vendors were threatening lawsuits. He needed cash fast. Ava didn't rush. She moved like smoke, unseen, patient. Through Marcus, she made an anonymous offer. The owner didn't ask questions. All he saw was a lifeline. Within a month, the papers were signed. Ava Monroe, the woman they refused to serve, can now own the Bay House. But she didn't announce it. Not yet. Instead, she let things stay quiet. The staff had no idea the new investor was their new boss. And Claire, the hostess who once turned her away, still stood at the front scanning people with the same judgmental eyes. Ava visited the restaurant that night, disguised, understated, wearing the same black blazer. She wanted to see if anything had changed. It hadn't. Claire gave her that same look, the same polite disgust. "Ma'am, we're fully booked." Ava smiled faintly. "Of course you are." Then she handed her a sealed envelope. "Give this to your manager. Tell him it's from the new owner." Claire frowned, confused, but took it. Within minutes, the manager rushed out, pale, nervous. He looked at Ava, then back at the letter. You're Ms. Monroe?" She nodded. His voice trembled. "You bought the restaurant?" Ava's gaze never left Claire's face. "Yes, and I'd like a table. By the window, please." For the first time, Claire couldn't speak. Her lips moved, but no words came out. Ava just smiled. "Don't worry. I believe in second chances. Let's start with better service." That night, as she dined at the table she was once denied, Ava made notes. New management, new menu, new policies. No one would ever be turned away for how they looked again. But just when she thought the story was over, something unexpected happened. A few days later, Ava received a letter, no return address. Inside was a photo of her outside the restaurant the day she was denied service. Someone had taken her picture. On the back, one sentence was written in red ink. "You may own it now, but you don't belong here." Ava stared at it for a long time, her jaw tightening. The handwriting was neat, familiar. She turned it over again, her mind racing, because suddenly She realized exactly who had sent it. Ava stared at the photo in her hands, the one of her standing outside the Bay House drenched in rain the day they refused to serve her. Her stomach twisted as her eyes fell on the message scrawled in red ink. You may own it now, but you don't belong here. No return address, no signature, just those words, sharp as glass. For a moment she couldn't move. The air around her felt heavy, like the past was reaching through time to remind her that money couldn't buy acceptance, that even ownership couldn't silence hate. She turned the photo over again, studying the handwriting. Something about it tugged at her memory, familiar but faint. She thought about the night she'd bought the place, the people she'd trusted, Marcus. But no, Marcus had helped her secure the deal. He was one of the few who'd believed in her from the start, right? Still, the more she thought about it, the more things didn't add up. The anonymous offer had gone through his contact. The legal documents, he handled them. The former owner never met her directly. She'd been proud of how clean the process was, maybe too clean. Ava set the photo down and opened her laptop. Within minutes, she was digging through property records, cross-checking names, signatures, transfers. And that's when she saw it. A clause she hadn't noticed before, a hidden partnership name, MB Holdings, Marcus Bennett. Her chest tightened. She picked up her phone. Marcus, she said when he answered, trying to sound calm. We need to talk, tonight. He hesitated. Everything okay? Just meet me at the Bay House. That evening the restaurant was quiet, only a few staff cleaning up after hours. Ava sat at the same window seat where she'd dined weeks ago, the one she'd been denied before. Her reflection in the glass looked different now, stronger, sharper, and tired of pretending. Marcus walked in, smiling, relaxed. He sounded tense. What's going on? Ava slid the photo across the table. Recognize this? He frowned. What is this? You tell me. Someone's been reminding me I don't belong here. Funny thing is, the message came from inside. He chuckled, nervous. Ava, come on. You think I checked the documents, Marcus. Her voice was low but steady. You're listed as a silent partner. You bought into this with me, behind my back. He leaned back, jaw tightening. I didn't think you'd understand. You were too emotional about this place. I was protecting you from yourself. Protecting me, she repeated, her voice trembling with disbelief. This is the Bay House, Ava. It's not just a restaurant, it's an institution. You think these people are going to let you run it? You'll lose everything trying to make it something it's not. Her hands curled into fists. You mean something it's never been? Fair? He looked away. You don't get it. These people, they like things the way they are. I was trying to keep peace. Make sure you didn't burn yourself trying to change a system that doesn't want you. Ava rose from her seat. You sound just like them. Marcus sighed. You can't fight everything with pride, Ava. Sometimes you play the game. She leaned closer. No, Marcus. I changed the game. Silence hung heavy between them. Finally, she said quietly, You're out. I'm buying your shares. Today. He laughed bitterly. You can't afford to push me out. Ava smiled, cold and calm. I already did. She slid another document across the table. Signed, sealed, dated that morning. You sold your shares 3 hours ago. Check your account. His phone buzzed. He looked down. The wire transfer confirmation staring back at him. Ava straightened. I will build this from the ground up. She shook her head. No, I'm making history. He left without another word. Ava stood there for a long moment, listening to the soft hum of the restaurant lights. Then she turned toward the front desk. Claire, the hostess who once turned her away, stood there, watching. Everything okay, Mom? Claire asked quietly. Ava nodded. Yes, actually. I've been thinking about the future. She looked around the restaurant, the polished wood, the elegant chandeliers, the faint scent of old money still clinging to the walls. It's time the Bay House stopped being a symbol of exclusion. I'm reopening it, under a new name, one that welcomes everyone. Claire hesitated, eyes shining. What name? Ava smiled. The Haven. Months later, the grand reopening was more than an event. It was a statement. For the first time, the room buzzed with diversity. Laughter, music, life. People who had never been welcome here before now dined like royalty. As Ava stepped onto the stage to give her opening speech, she took a deep breath. "This place once told me I didn't belong," she said. "But belonging isn't something you're given. It's something you claim." The crowd erupted in applause, but as she looked toward the back of the room, her smile faltered. A man in a dark suit stood near the exit, watching her, not clapping, not smiling, just watching. And in his hand, a red envelope. Her heart skipped. He raised it slightly as if in salute, then slipped out the door. Ava's voice caught for a moment. The cameras flashed, the crowd cheered, but her eyes stayed on that door long after it closed. Some people will tell you that you don't belong, not because you can't do it, but because they're afraid of what happens when you finally realize you can. Ava didn't just buy a restaurant, she reclaimed her worth. She turned rejection into a reminder that your value isn't determined by who accepts you, but by how you rise when they don't. And maybe that's the real lesson here. You don't have to fight for a seat at every table. Sometimes you just build your own. What about you? Has anyone ever made you feel like you didn't belong, only for you to prove them wrong in the end? Tell us your story in the comments below. We'd love to hear it. If Ava's story inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more real-life stories of strength, redemption, and power, because every voice matters, and every victory deserves to be heard.